What's up, Planet Poke people? It's me, DeoGenZ, with another edition of Pokemon of the Week. This week, we're going to take a look at one of the most favorable sweepers in not one, not two, but three, count 'em, three tiers. The favorable physical attacking specimen, Heracross. Heracross, he's my hero, and one of the best physical sweepers you can ask for. And that's right, he's used so much that his sets, his stats, his moves in combination with abilities are so tough, so powerful, that they can span three tiers. So when you're looking at these sets, consider all the different obstacles in your way in each of them. The Uber tier is far different from the UU tier, yet Heracross can tread by both. And part of what allows it to do that is its new ability, Moxie. In past generations it didn't have this, but when the 5th gen came in, it gained it. And it's great, because once you have Heracross come in on a switch, maybe to revenge kill something, maybe if you want to lock a psychic type into a definite death, you'd switch out Night Slash for Pursuit, but then again you're sacrificing power for the assured hittedness every time. You know, checks and balances, that's what makes metagame fun. But every time you knock out a foe, Heracross gains another boost to attack, another boost to physical attack. So of course, a typical physical sweeping set is going to have max attack in the EVs, max speed to outspeed anything possible, because the better it can strike, the more swiftly it can, the better off you are. And this also goes for the items. Now, before I get ahead of myself and talk about the items, the ability Guts also ties into items in what you want to do. Once it's afflicted with some sort of status condition, and for this case burn would be the best, so you'd want Flame Orb for that, instead of diminishing attack like usual burn status would and inflicting damage, you're still going to have the damage infliction every turn. It's not going to be as drastic as poison though, that's why you want the burn, and your attack will be increased 50%. That's massive, especially if you come out on the field holding a Flame Orb item. That's an immediate 50% boost in attack without even having to do anything, without even having to use a sword stance, a bulk up, none of that stuff. Immediate boost. If you want more immediate boosts, say have Guts in the background just in case you predict your foes to be favoring status afflicting moves, then you could have that, or better yet, Moxie with a Choice Band. Because the power of Choice Band, and hopefully Heracross can outspeed whatever is on the field. The idea is to perhaps trick your opponent into switching and then knock them back with anything overpowered that is on the moveset, which we'll talk about in a moment. Or Choice Scarf. Choice Scarf is the assured way to strike first. It will most likely outspeed everything. The only thing I could see maybe being a problem in the Uber territory is a Deoxys Speed. If you match speed with speed and it's got a Choice Scarf on it, well, good luck dodging its Psychic, but that's a possibility as well. And I don't know if they would really want to push Deoxys S's speed further than it already is. But you could also have the Leftovers on there, and the Leftovers is sort of an alternative set. I'll talk about that when we mention the moves, so let's go on to those now. And Mega Horn being its 120 base stab move. It's an incredible stab move to possess, and what makes Heracross so damn dangerous, especially when combined with the Choice Band, because it does no sort of recoil damage to Heracross. It doesn't diminish its stats in any way. You can use Mega Horn as your one stab move on anything that isn't not very effective, like a Steel type, and be doing significant damage every time if you have the Choice Band on. And that's good, since you'll be locked into that Mega Horn if that's what you choose. Now, say a Steel type comes on the field, well then great. Heracross now has only one but two stab moves, and Close Combat would be the other powerful 120, although this one will take away your defense and special defense attributes, so consider that. It will diminish Heracross's staying power over time unless you decide to switch and its stats get reset by the switch out. Or you could alternatively have Brick Break on that, which will probably be in some of the later sets. Night Slash to take out any sort of the Psychics I mentioned briefly. You might want to have Pursuit, so you go on the switch in and they cannot switch out, and you chase them with Pursuit because they are fearing a Mega Horn from your Heracross, and that would be ideal, but if you can capture them with Pursuit, all the better. but not good with Choice Band. That's not good with any choice item, so keep that in mind. And Stone Edge to take care of those pesky flying types. Able to cover all of its weaknesses wonderfully, and having amazing abilities to aid it in its physical attacking onslaught, this thing just keeps getting better when we look at the additional moves. Now, Substitute is an interesting set you may want to consider, and then switch out the moves to add a Focus Punch in there so you could do the classic Sub-Focus Punch set. You might want to consider this also with a Bulk Up. That's right, not only Sword Stance, but Bulk Up is available for this poke, so you could increase your defense, increase your staying power with Heracross, and that's why I had the leftovers set in the long list of items. Of course, you can only choose one, but depending upon what variants of Heracross you choose in metagame will be dependent on what item you want to choose from that list. So keep that in mind. If you're going for pure power and you just want to boost Heracross's stats unbelievably amazing, then you can use a Sword Stance, or maybe even consider a speed or a baton passing of stats off to Heracross as a perfect way for it to switch in, powered up and potent, without even needing to take any sort of status affliction using Guts, and maybe even aided in the long term by Moxie if it can top whatever Pokemon it switches out to on the field. Facade, of course, goes along with the Flame Orb set, so that goes along with the Guts ability. It's all about connecting abilities and moves that are favorable towards each other, and Sleep Talk for the prediction of people trying to put your Heracross to sleep. If they can neutralize this thing and stop it from going on an onslaught rampage like it will because of its stats, because of its movesets and abilities, it's unstoppable, especially after one Moxie boost, then they will probably try to put your thing to sleep. But you can overcome this with Sleep Talk. The unfortunate thing is, you sacrifice a move slot space, so if they don't have any sleeping ability Pokemon on their team, it's going to be a wasted move for you, where you could have covered yourself better on another one of your weaknesses, Psychic, by having Night Slash, or whatever you decide to swap out for Sleep Talk. So many variants on this set, and now let's look at a couple of viewer sets submitted through the comments last week. Our second set comes from Badassxscrafy, who made a similar thing as we were talking about before with the variants. The one thing that I noticed that he included that I don't think I included on my leftovers, or not leftovers rather, items list, of which leftovers was on, is Muscle Band and Salic Berry. Great item choices. I don't know about Salic Berry, except, you know, you don't want to really whittle this thing down, because this will only activate when Heracross is almost dead, when it's diminished very little bit, sliver of health left. I don't like to wager items based on that. I like to have items that help me from the beginning to the end of the match, whether it's a banned item or it's a berry that will activate in a health pinch, which it would be more favorable in that choice, but even so, it doesn't have any investment towards defense or special defense, so to predict that you're not going to be one-hit KO'd, and that's ideally what your opponent would like to do, then it would sort of be a waste of an item slot, but otherwise, good moves. And Facade, I would probably set with the Flame Orb, although he didn't include that as one of the items, so I excluded it. Bulk Up if you wanted to raise the defenses, and that's a good idea if you're going to go multitasking with Close Combat. But in between Close Combat and Bulk Up, it's a hard decision. You really have to decide before you enter a match, is your Heracross going to be hard-hitting and fast, or is it going to power itself up over time and then unleash all hell on your opponents? You got to decide these things before you enter the match, because if you decide, maybe a couple bulk ups will help, it will go contrary to what your style or strategy would have been, and then it will probably be knocked out by some kind of special. Yeah, that's right, a special attack. That still gets diminished by Close Combat too, so keep that in mind. Bulk Up only aids physical defense and physical attack. So, things to keep in mind. Oh, and for some reason, he didn't have Mega Horn on this set, which, in my opinion, is a necessary stab move that you want to take advantage of, especially having no recoil or diminishing effects. So, yeah, I put it in the additional section because every Heracross should have it. Finally, we have rhystkdmorgan set, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your crazy usernames. They're all in the description section, so if you think one set is really awesome and you want to go comment on that person's channel, then check in the description below. But yeah, a pretty similar set. The only thing that I would say is slightly different is their decision to go with Rock Slide instead of Stone Edge, and that is a more sensible move if you want better accuracy. Rock Slide is definitely the move to go for, and instead of using a bulk up like the set 2 one used, a Swords Dance for a quicker attack boost, and that's ideally to get as much attack power as possible, and then, you know, a great strategy, a really great strategy to use with these Heracrosses who are not locked in with any sort of choice item. These are all muscle banded in set 2 and set 3. A great thing to do with them would be to switch them out on a psychic Pokemon or something that maybe a grass type, something that's going to be weak to Heracross, one of its stab moves, and your opponent knows it, so they're going to want to switch as soon as possible. If you can predict properly and you know they're going to switch, that's when you do Swords Dance. Don't waste any move trying to predict what they're going to switch out to, because ideally it will be to block anything that Heracross tries to fire at it, although how well can you predict that when you've got 4 move slots? So take that time to boost your moves. One Swords Dance, and then it doesn't matter what gets sent out. It's done, okay? It's done. Close Combat, Mega Horn, Rock Slide, or Stone Edge, it's over. And that Swords Dance will be critical at the early point in the match as soon as it comes out onto the field. And something to help Heracross along a little more would be to have a Rapid Spinner on your team so that entry hazards don't play a role in taking away its vital health, especially if you are locked into a substitute set where you need as much health as possible. But that about covers all we could talk about with Heracross today. I would love to see some battle footage of this. If you guys have any way to contribute, whether it's battle footage or battle sets for next week when I show you the shadowy image of what next week will be like, then you can email me through YouTube, send me a PM, because I actually forgot to mention it in last video that that's the preference, that's the way that I check these things. I won't actually see your set if you put it in the comments. I need to scan them through my inbox because I don't get updated when my Pokemon of the Week videos have new comments. That's Pokemon, that's Planet Poke's thing, and definitely while you're here, subscribe to this channel. So much awesome Pokemon content, TCGs, walkthroughs, all things discussions about Pokemon, and I think we're having a, I do believe, a benefit week-long madness of content making sort of extravaganza. More info on that when you subscribe and go to the main page. Main page, that's right, I don't even know if that's true. YouTube changed. Now there's no featured video. It's so hard to communicate with the audience these days like that, but we're working around it, and if you got the time, if you're a little bored and you want to check out a cool Let's Play, head on over to youtube.com/DeoGenZ. My link's also in the channel description, and you can see some awesome things. Got the blob going on pretty soon as my college semester is ending and I'll have more time. We're going to be doing a new effort value expertise training video, and I think we're going to start out with how to train effort values for hit points, and then we'll go down the road kind of like you see the stats laid out here today. Hit points, attack, defense, so on and so forth, and each stat will get a video and show you the prime place to train in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I'll probably make new additions later on, but gotta start somewhere, and that's where I chose to start. So I will see you next week.